Hey everyone, I'm Paul Duvall, and I'm really excited to be part of the hosting team. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in person at some point in the future. So, at Stelligent, one of our core values is around sharing. And so, we often do this through our blog. So, if you go to stelligent.com/blog, you can see all sorts of in depth technical articles around AWS and DevOps and continuous delivery. And we also use a lot of open source and written some open source and use a lot of open source. So you can have a look at that in our GitHub. So it's github.com/Stelligent. But a lot of the articles reach out to that. So you can find links through the blog posts. We also, we've written some books and we've spoken at events like AWS reInvent and some others. And so I thought I'd share with you a little bit about DevOps today. And since that's really has been the core focus of Stelligent for the past 10 years, even before it was a term that's used in the industry. So DevOps and continuous delivery and automation, and then we've been using AWS for the past 8 years. So what I'm about to show you is something that I've given out a few talks over the past couple of years on DevOps, and it's based on something that AWS has talked about in some of their events as well. But before I show this, I wanted to just show you a couple of interests of mine, technical interests of mine. So this is the AWS IoT button, and it's based on the Amazon Dash technology. But basically, you click the button, and then it runs. It has some software here, firmware, and then it runs some software, and you can have it, run like a AWS Lambda function, and run some program for you. And so I've been experimenting with this a little bit and figuring out ways that you might be able to use this in a DevOps continuous delivery context. And then also, this is the Echo Dot, if you can see this, but it runs the Alexa software. And in doing that, you can, like I've set it up in such a way where I can give it a command, and it will run through some tests, and it will launch CloudFormation stacks and give me some feedback along the way. And so you can really make it do whatever you want. And so, some of these are very much in the forming stages, but if you're interested in anything like that, let me know. There's many other things that I tend to experiment with in kind of advancing what we're doing as a company. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my short 3-minute presentation on DevOps. Thanks. So DevOps, so it's a simple portmanteau of the words development and operations. But it confuses many people because there isn't really a formal definition of it. Some people have tried, but there's no really agreed upon definition. You can see some definitions from AWS, which I tend to like. There's one from Gene Kim that I like as well. But, it doesn't represent only development and operations, and that's where I think some of the confusion lies, because it's really about representing the entire value stream. And so, this is something that's based on, the slide you see here is based on something that AWS has done, and what they often do is relate it to something that you might already be familiar with, which would be the software development lifecycle. So let's imagine you have a web application or a service, and on one side you have customers, and then the other side you have developers. So a developer might come up with an idea for a new feature or a fix, and they're going to implement it and build it and test it, and then run analysis and set up environments, things like that, and they're going to run it through a release process until it gets delivered to production. At that point, only once it gets delivered to production, where your customers start to use it, are you able to learn from it. And so you might be able to get things like usage data as a developer, or you get direct feedback from your customers, and you can start to make some educated guesses on what you might work on next. And that might be to develop a new feature or refine one. And then this is where that loop starts again. And so there's really two important notes about this. One is that the faster that you're able to get through this loop determines your customer responsiveness and your ability to innovate. So the second is from the perspective of your customers, you're only delivering value when you're spending time developing new features. On this side, on the left side, and so anytime that you're spending, on building the pipeline itself or hand holding changes through the pipeline, you're not delivering value. So you really want to maximize the time that you're spending on the left side and minimize the time that you're spending in the middle. And it's really these two things that make up DevOps. So DevOps is really about any efficiency that you can drive in the middle in this deployment pipeline or the overall process here that allows you to increase those feedback loops, and you're getting more feedback from your customers. And that's why I think it's confusing sometimes to people, because it could be it's not just getting the teams together. It's not just automation. It's really, it can be organizational changes. It could be cultural changes, process changes, or tooling changes, and that's fine. Really, anything in which you're improving this feedback loop really counts as what DevOps is.